there is Van der Mark now and the problems that he's had, so he's going to get a lift back to the pits. But for Alvaro Bautista, we saw a big moment there through turn 1 and 2, and that slide, and then just he bailed on the Estoril turn 3, the long right-hander. And for Van der Mark, that's going to be the end of his session.
I'm liking the recovery vehicle.
Yeah, it's quite flash actually for a service road vehicle there, but you know, for Magny-Cours, maybe with that extra contract, they've got the and that's Nozane that's gone down, and that looks like it's at 180 turn 8.
So high enough speed as well for Nozane, but he's straight back up to his feet and paddles through the gravel trap. Now actually rejoins the gravel trap. So Kota Nozane going down through the left-hander, possibly just on the entry there, but either way, high enough speed for that to be an initial cause for concern.
Yeah, and for Nozane, clearly quite a bit of damage done there as well, and he'll come back to the pits and get that bike checked out with only 4 minutes left in the session. Chances are he probably won't be able to get himself back out again, but for Kota, at least he's been able to get the bike upright, get himself back, and that should be a good indication that he's not too badly damaged in the crash, but there might be a bit of damage done to the bike.
Yes, Nozane, who is down in 20th on the time charts in free practice 2, was in line to move up into the top 15, so clearly he was pushing on his latest lap to try and make some progress, and has gone down as a result. That effectively ends his session, as we've said, still making his way back towards the pits. 3.5 minutes to go then. Jonathan Rea is up and running, and we ride on board with him now.
Yeah, you can see down in towards turn 1, it's an eye of the needle through there in this section. It really is a lot narrower than even it looks on the onboard camera there. But for Jonathan Rea, this is where the track then starts to open up through turn 3 at Estoril, and you can see Rea trying to just get on the gas as early as he can through there. Rea right now down in 5th fastest, needs to find about a quarter of a second, so we'll see if he's able to make any progress in the run down in towards Adelaide Hairpin there, and you can see that bridge, that's the braking point, and then you're all the way down to first gear, and for Rea, you can see there scrubbing all the speed down to around about 55 k's an hour through the Adelaide Hairpin, and then the track starts to open up again. This is the run down in towards the Nürburgring chicane, sorry, the Nürburgring chicane, and this is where the track then flip-flops to the left, and then you're on the brakes, on the angle, all the way trail braking into the 180 turn. You can see there, this is where Kota Nozane had his crash. For Jonathan Rea, he's trying to take a real late apex through there to try and open up the track for the run down in towards the Nürburgring chicane. And for him, this is then the section of the track where it does start to undulate through here. You can see it's very blind on the entry, and then suddenly the track starts to rise up again for you, and the run down in towards the right-hander at turn 13 as well. A slow corner through here, first gear, 60 k's an hour, and then you try and get your drive through there down in towards the Lycée at the end of the lap. This is where the track really does fall away from the riders down through the left-hander, and you can see for Rea again just how much of the braking you're having to do while the bike is leaned over from one side to the next. Then you come into the final chicane, and for Jonathan Rea, he's going to hope to be able to find a bit of time, but he's going to need to make a great last sector to really find a personal best there. Rea comes across the line, misses out by 1/10 of a second.
So Jonathan Rea with a 1:37.797, and we rode on board for his latest lap throughout. 2 minutes to go in free practice 2. Toprak is on the charge again. He's made up more than 1/10 of a second at the halfway mark on his latest lap. Tom Sykes and Alex Lowe's, as well as Scott Redding, and Garrett Gerloff is going to be the first of the lead riders to make it to the line on what's going to be his penultimate flying lap here. Gerloff is 0.03 of a second up after the third sector, made up almost 2/10 in sector 1, but has gradually lost that ground as the lap has gone on. We'll see if he can find something in the final sector to make some progress up through the order. He's currently down in P11, 1:38.077. It's good enough to go P4, 1:37.6 from Garrett Gerloff. But it's Toprak Razgatlioglu who extends his leading margin. This is incredible stuff from him this afternoon. 1:37.138 now, more than 1/3 of a second up on Charles Davies, who is second fastest. So Garrett Gerloff improving, but Toprak improving to stretch the leading margin up at the top of the timesheets. What can Scott Redding do now? He's in P8, he goes P4, 1:37.6. So you only need to make up a couple of 1/10 of a second. You suddenly leapfrog your way up the order, as Leon Haslam proves there with a 1:37.5. 4/10 down on Toprak. good enough to slot in between Chaz Davies and Leon Haslam. And from Davies, who's currently second fastest, all the way down to Michael Ruben Rinaldi in 9th, just 0.3 of a second, and that's the advantage that Toprak has to the rest of the pack out in front. Not anymore, says Jonathan Rea. 1:37.426, his best time of this session so far, but still almost 0.3 of a second down on Toprak Razgatlioglu. He will get one more lap if he wants it, Jonathan Rea, as will Toprak. We're riding on board with him now. 16,000 again up at the halfway mark, again making some time in Sector 1.
Yeah, and for Toprak, he's able to find some time on his personal best in Sector 1 lap after lap. But what's interesting is it's in this sector at the end of the lap, final sector, where he's got an edge over everyone else. This is where he picked up a couple of tenths of a second on Ray and 0.3 of a second on some of the other riders as well. So that seems to be the section that's really working well for him.
Garrett Kurloff then in line to make further improvements. He did leapfrog his way up into 4th position, but has been relegated back down to 7th. Can he go up as high as 4th again? No, he can't, because he loses time in the final sector. Razgatlioglu finishes the session on one wheel, having set a 1:37.179. Might have even been a little bit faster if he'd allowed himself. But pushing on hard is Toprak in this session, and that's a psychological edge. I don't think there can be much doubt about that. Jonathan Rea 0.2 of a second down at the halfway mark, in line to improve Scott Redding on his latest lap. Redding crosses the line now, 1:37.346. So Redding slots between Razgatlioglu and Rea. How's Jonathan Rea got the answer? He'd have to make up a 1/10 of a second in this final sector here. We're going to watch him as he makes his way down the hill now through the right-hander turn 15, the start of 3 corners that comprise the Lycée complex, the chicane at turn 16 and 17, bumping over the curb off the final turn, and immediately to the line. It's a short squirt coming off the final corner to the finish line, and Jonathan Rea sets up 1:37.759, so unable to improve. He remains behind Scott Redding. Alex Lowes does improve on his final lap, but makes no significant gains in terms of position. So at the end of Friday here in Magny-Cours, it's Toprak Razgatlioglu fastest, 0.2 of a second up on Scott Redding, best part of 3 on Jonathan Rea, more than 1/3 of a second on Chaz Davies. Leon Haslam with an excellent result, P5. Tom Sykes rounds out your top 6. Gerloff, Lowes, Rinaldi, Van der Mark, Locatelli, Bautista, all within just over 0.7 of a second of the fastest man, Toprak Razgatlioglu. But what early signs of domination from the number 54 on the evidence of what we've seen in FP2 this afternoon.